Hello grade 12s. I'm going to show you how to find the present day value of some future amount of money. So, present day value of a future amount of money. So what does the situation look like? Well, think of the following situation. Say you are going to receive 10,000 Rand in 3 years' time. How much is that amount of money worth today? Well, we actually have a formula for this. We used it in grade 11, and that formula is the compound growth formula. Now, we need to know some other information though first. So we need to know how long ago. We also need to know, and that's fairly easy to see from the timeline, it's 3 years ago. We also need to know what is the interest rate applicable. In this particular situation, I'm going to say 10% interest per annum. And then one more thing we need to know is we need to know how often the interest is compounded, or how often the interest is added, essentially. In this case, I'm going to make it simple and I'm going to say yearly. Okay, so let's try and figure out what the original amount of money is. So we're going to sub in to our formula. We're going to sub in the facts that we know. So we know we're going to get to 10,000 Rand in the future. We don't know what the present day value of that is, or the original amount. We do know the interest rate is 10% per annum, and it's compounded yearly. So in decimal, that would be 0.1. And then we also know the period of time n is going to be 3. So how do we now find P? Well, all we need to do is we need to rearrange this formula. So if we do that, you can imagine, all I do is I bring across, now 1 plus 0.1 is 1.1 to the power of 3, and so we're going to find that if we put that into our calculators, we get 7513,148,009. Now in practice we would round that off. But essentially that is the p-value by itself, and so 10,000 Rand 3 years from now, given the above conditions, is actually only worth 7,513 Rand and 15 cents if we round off today. Now, we sometimes use a slightly different notation in matric, but it's the same idea as the grade 11 method that we've just shown you. So we could rewrite the formula that I used for this in a slightly different way. So what we could do is we could replace the A with FV, which is the future value, and we could replace the P with PV, which is present value. And then what we could do is we could go a step further. And in this case, we wanted to know the present day value. So I could make the present value variable part the subject of the formula, the same way I did above, by simply moving the 1 plus I to the power of n to the other side. Now, what we often see is when this formula is written down, we see they move the exponent from the bottom to above. And so that looks like this. So present value equals future value, and then if it comes from below the line to above the line, the exponent needs to change. And so sometimes you see this formula used where we say, what's the present value of an amount of money? Well, it's just the future value applying this formula. But the root of the formula is still in the compound growth formula that you've known since grade 11. And if we go a step further now and we repeat the same calculation, essentially I could fill in the same figures as before, and you can try this on your calculator, same information, and what we have is if you plug that in, you get exactly the same amount. So it was 7513,148,009. And so it's good to just get comfortable with that notation.